Okay, design phase. I'm going to keep the design pretty simple, aka I'm going to say pretty close to the original design of the dress. Obviously, this is going to need some sort of hoop skirt or petticoat. Originally, I was just gonna go with a petticoat, but when looking at the references that I had, it's very obvious that she's wearing a hoop skirt, so that's what I'm gonna go with. Just to keep this simple on me, I think I'm just gonna make it 2 separate pieces, so a bodice and then the skirt. So I think what I wanna go with for this design, just to shake it up a bit, the dress itself is kind of like a V-neck. It has a bit of mesh in the neck area, if that makes sense, and it's, you know, a V. However, I think I wanna change that and make it look more like a spider web. I did get inspired by this absolutely amazing creator. I cannot remember her name off the top of my head. This bit was totally inspired by her, and you should go check her out. So this bit will still stay mesh. It'll just have more so a spiderweb pattern to it. I think what I'm gonna try to do is use black ribbon and just kind of sew it onto the mesh fabric. So she has this big poofy bit, but underneath that, it's just kind of like a simple bodice. But besides that, the bodice piece is going to say relatively simple. The key word in this project is going to be simple, in quotations. Okay, so that's kind of more so the bodice. So sleeves are going to say relatively the same, except her sleeves are pretty form-fitting. I think I want to go with bell sleeves. This is also going to be probably mesh. Hers in the movie seems to have like polka dots on it. I don't know if I'm going to be able to find a fabric like that. I will try my best, but it may just be normal mesh fabric. Now moving on to the skirt. So I think what I'm gonna do is I'm going to have 5 tiers in total, just to keep it simple. So I think with the skirt, I'm going to split it up into 2 different layers. Layer 1 will just be the underskirt, which will probably just be pretty cheap satin. But yeah, I know the skirt is going to be so time consuming, so I think I'm going to hit the skirt first and then go from there. So with the back of the bodice, everything will be the same. This top bit will continue on the back, and originally I was just going to install a invisible zipper in the back. However, I think I am changing my mind, and I think I want to try my hands at adding grommets. So I think we're just going to have a really cool lace-up type scene in the back here, you know, like that. I swear it will all make sense when it actually comes time to building this. I'm just really bad at making visuals and also working with colored pencils, okay? Now, with keeping this skirt shut, I think I'm just going to make it tie in the back, if that makes sense. Plus it'll just give me like a cute little bow. I think I'm just gonna make it tie in the back. Finally, I think for this, just the shoes, I think I'm going to go and try finding some red boots at the thrift store, but if I can't find any, I'm just gonna use my Doc Martens. So I'm just gonna keep that blank. And I think I already have a wig that I can use for her hairstyle, and if not, I can just use my own hair or something like that. But yeah, now we can move on to actually collecting the fabric. Okay, I don't know what I'm doing. I know how to drive. I don't know what I'm doing with car vlogging. Why am I doing this? I'll see you at Joanne's. Here you go. Thank you. Have a good one. You too. Okay, let's get to business. Let's go over all the supplies I got. Starting with number 1. Okay, please calm down. This is the hoop skirt. I've never used a hoop skirt before. Okay, next are these. These are just grommets. The bodice is going to be a lace up, just like in the back. And we need these, or I need these for that. So yeah. So, and then we have this. This is boning. It's in the back. Okay, next we have this, and the color I'll go over in just a second. This is what's going to be used for the top section of the dress and the sleeves. I'm not gonna check the fabric, actually. 12 yards of tulle. This will not be enough because this has to go on the skirt and cover the skirt entirely, but also be on the bodice. So that will be fun. And then finally is this. Is what we'll be using for the underskirt. This is 6 yards of satin. This is 12 yards. How does that make any sense? So obviously, as you can tell, this is a very dark shade compared to what you see in the actual movie. Now, no, I am not that dumb. I did not just choose the wrong fabric color, or I was not scammed or anything. I purposely did this. The red that is in the movie is like a fire hydrant red, and that color sucks. So I decided to go for the more superior color, red wine. It fits more of my aesthetic, so. But yeah, I think that's it. But with that being said, why not get started? Okay, petticoat is on. So I'm not going to be in frame, my face isn't probably. I'm here though. Essentially what I'm doing today is this needs an overskirt, and that is going to be made out of this. The thing is, I have no clue, well I have an idea. Essentially I need the measurements to cover this full thing, and because I am lazy, I'm just gonna watch a tutorial.
And this is where the reign of voiceover Lainey begins. Anyways, I started by taking the measurements of the hoop skirt, which ended up being 130 inches by 28 inches. Also, watch as this fabric falls. This fabric weighs so much that it causes the camera to shake. But anyways, with the measurements I created essentially just a huge rectangle that was the size of the measurements, so 130 by 28 inches. This rectangle was so big that I actually made it too big, so this is just me cutting down a bunch of it to the correct measurements. And I followed that by creating a waistband, using leftover fabric that I folded like bias tape, and the waistband ended up being 133 inches by 7 inches. And then this is just me pinning and sewing down the waistband to the ginormous rectangle. I also sewed down the side seams so that this rectangle turned into more so a skirt. And then once done, it was time to make the waistband functional, which I did by weaving the ribbon through the waistband through the hole that I left before. Now, here you see me using ribbon. However, I did go back and just switch it out for cording, and that's just because the ribbon that I originally used, I actually had to cut in half just because the ribbon was so wide. And because of that, the ribbon just ended up falling apart. And then to finish off the base skirt, I very reluctantly hemmed the bottom of the skirt. And then that was it. The base skirt was finished. Next was working on the most tedious part of this costume, all the yards of tulle I was about to have to deal with. Originally, there was only supposed to be 5 layers, but for God knows why, my mind needed to have an even amount of layers, so I ended up just making 8 layers instead, which took a lot more time. The first 4 layers range from about 200 to 250 inches, while the last 4 are about 350 inches in length. Obviously, this is a lot, and that definitely came into play when it came time to gathering all this fabric, which I did by machine. And also, yes, you were seeing that correctly, that is my sewing machine on top of a bunch of containers. And you can figure out how to do this, honestly, by looking it up on Google, just because I don't feel I can properly explain how I did this. Besides, I sewed through everything with a very long stitch and low tension. And then, surprise, surprise, I ended up running out of thread, so I actually had to go back to Joann's to get more. But once I got more thread, I was finally able to finish off this skirt by gathering, pinning, and sewing down every single layer. Which honestly, I do not have a lot of footage of, just because this step literally took days. But then, the skirt was finished.
Okay, I don't see this conclusion taking too long. First off, I want to apologize for that very low effort reveal. I decided when revealing just the skirt, the reveal shouldn't be too fancy, but I will definitely make it up when I do reveal the full costume, which does lead me to my next topic. Very obviously, Lydia's dress is not finished, and at the beginning of this video, I specified that I would be making the entire dress. And that is because this is only part 1 of a 2-part series. I can only assume that this video is long enough as it is, and it just makes it easier on me. And all of that will be coming out October 29th, I want to say. I'll be sure to edit somewhere on the screen the day the video will be released. But regardless, it will be some time before that video, but no need to worry. I have plenty of other videos and just general content planned for each week of this month. So weekly uploads on here and on other social media platforms such as my Instagram and TikTok. But I think that's enough about, self-advertisement. Let's talk about the skirt. Just some little facts that I actually wanted to bring up in this video about the skirt is things such as how long did it take and how much material did it take. Starting with how much material this costume took. As of just the skirt, it was 14 yards of tulle and 3.5 yards of satin. And as for the time, it took me over 20 hours to make this skirt. And some of that does include time of me spacing out when I should have been working on the skirt, just because I tend to procrastinate a lot. So that is like a rough estimate and not an exact time, but you get the general idea. This skirt took forever to make. Speaking of which, I have the rest of the costume that I need to finish. So, I'm gonna end off this video here. Thank you for watching this video all the way through. Subscribe if you dare, and if you want to see the rest of my content throughout the month of October, and I shall hopefully see you next week. So, bye!